So let's for a moment look at the legal framework around this. What is possible based on what currently exists in the law? And let me bring Colette in here. Colette, thank you for your patience. We haven't heard a word from you so far. But perhaps you can start telling us now, do we have an extensive set of laws governing and supporting whistleblowing in South Africa?
The short answer is no. We can do a lot better in terms of creating a legal framework that minimizes the suffering of the human beings who become whistleblowers. South Africa is a decade behind the rest of the world in all our anti-corruption laws and policies. Transparency International wrote a report that pinpointed the South African Whistleblowing Act as being much too narrow in scope. So we have an outdated law. I can't wait to hear what my comrade Thabiso says about what he would like to see in the new version of that law, because we have to lobby for legal reform and institutional reform. The only question is, in this movement towards reforming our legislative framework, what examples do we draw from internationally? And I've had a look at the international legal framework around whistleblowing, and there are some interesting examples of laws in the United States that pay out huge amounts of money to whistleblowers so that they can protect themselves. There is an interesting example of the best law supposedly in the world is the European Union directive, which was only promulgated last year. So it's very current. But I read this law and I see, and I think our whistleblowers would see a lot of holes in this law. It doesn't provide adequate protection for whistleblowers, particularly in the South African context. We could not just import that law into South Africa and expect it to address the unique challenges that we face in this country. And I'm speaking about the high rate of assassination of whistleblowers. There's an international NGO called the Global, give me a second, I've got the name here. The Global Initiative Against Organized Crime. It's an international NGO that wrote a report on South Africa's extremely high rate of contract killings for economic gain, covering many deaths, including those of whistleblowers. So whatever legal reforms we come up with, we have to take into account South Africa's unique context. And it would be great to hear what Thabiso has to say about what he would like to see in a new law. Because something I'd like to bring to the attention of civil society right now is that we might, according to international experts, have a window of opportunity in South Africa to make real, meaningful reforms in respect of many different anti-corruption areas, but particularly whistleblowing. They are of the opinion that South Africa is at a moment, a rare, unique opportunity right now where we can reverse corruption and get back on the path to improved governance. And we are watching certain areas in the South African political landscape for signs of real change, not just political speeches about anti-corruption, but real meaningful change. And we are seeing genuine positive signs. But one area that is still gravely lacking is in real meaningful protection for whistleblowers. When we see genuine protection for whistleblowers in this country, then we will be well on the way to ticking all the boxes of heading back towards a state under a better governance system.
I just want to ask as well, the point of view of organizations like government or private companies or even NGOs for that matter, do we have internal mechanisms at all to allow for these organizations to safeguard whistleblowing? Is that something that could be produced independently of national law?
Look, we have the Protected Disclosures Act, which supposedly provides some protection to employees in the corporate environment. The Companies Act has a section which goes a bit further and provides some further protection to other people, not just strictly employees, but also suppliers and other people connected with the business. The National Environmental Management Act also has a clause about whistleblowing, but there are so many gaps in practice, and human beings are falling through those gaps. And the consequences for the human beings is devastating. But more than that, the consequences for the struggle against corruption are also very grave. There's a professor of law at New York University who recently wrote a book in which she says that the number one most effective way to detect financial crime is to provide support for whistleblowers. I just want to pause for a moment there. She didn't say the most effective way is to see people in orange overalls or to increase the budget of law enforcement agencies. No, it's much simpler than that and much more cost effective. If we protect whistleblowers, we take the burden of investigating financial crime off a severely under-resourced law enforcement agencies, and that is a problem faced by every country throughout the world. And the reason for this is because financial crime is a unique kind of crime where you don't have a victim who's willing to speak out and to give evidence. You have two parties to the crime who are trying to keep a secret. But research shows that those two parties, as well as trying to keep a secret, face many temptations to betray one another. And so policymakers and lawmakers need to make it easy and safe for one of those people in the corrupt relationship to come forward with information. It is absolutely vital. Experts are of the opinion that it is the single most important thing that we can do to fight corruption.
Thank you so much for your contribution there. It really is good to hear from a legal mind as to exactly what sort of framework exists or what framework is in the pipeline in terms of the amendments as well.